Bienvenidos con Masters of the Forge. Mi amo es Adam. Con mío es Jason.
No one calls me Hassan. No one. I have lived on the border for almost my entire life. I've never been called Hassan.
Jason.
I've been called Jason, Yesi, Yason,
Yeezy.
all those, but I've never been called Hassan. So,
okay.
My Spanish teachers in elementary school, middle school, high school lied to me. Okay.
También for dinner. How do you say dinner?
Great. You asked me now. I can't remember.
Not late for dinner. I don't know. Anyways, here we are. Episode ciento 14 7 siete.
Yeah.
Boom. Nailed it.
I was actually thinking about having this episode begin with the Rock You Like a Hurricane from the Scorpions after my lovely week of trying to record.
Yeah, well,
but that might not be subtle.
It was a hurricane.
And it did rock me.
Literal hurricane, and then it was a figurative hurricane, and it's and we got some hobby progress. So Jason,
we did.
I did a lot of repainting this past couple of weeks. I painted 2 more battle wagons.
Yeah.
I repainted the Steamroller, which is the one with the big Puppets War Def Roller in the front. That thing rules.
Yeah. I need to get a Def Roller for my truck or my battle wagon.
Yeah, it's heavy too. That's a heavy hunk of resin. Let me tell you. Yeah, it was already yellow, but I added some blue. I added some blue flames to the front and re-energized the yellow. So I'm really happy with that vehicle now. Captain Goldtooth's battle wagon. It looks kind of like a sailing ship, and it was painted gold. Mm-hmm. I redid the whole thing in yellow, and I ripped off the front. There was a big zap gun on front and a shield from, I think it's a basilisk on the front there.
Okay.
Anyways, I ripped that off and kind of reassembled it separately so that it could be magnetized on. And I made a custom Def Roller out of. So I took stuff that, instead of trying to roll up plasticard or use something that's already a tube, what I did was I took things that were I took bits that were already ring shaped, and I stacked them on top of each other, and then glued spiky stuff in between the cracks of where they were glued together. And that looks a lot more dynamic. So things like cupolas from rhinos, which are circular, that kind of thing. Things that are ring shaped, so I could thread through the middle an axle of some kind, and that worked out very nicely. I'm very happy with how that came out, and I put got some super shooters and some gunners and stuff. So that battle wagon's in a lot better shape. I also picked up some rivets from the Tichy Train Group. That's Tichy. Tichy Train Group, on a suggestion from Campbell. And those rivets are awesome because they're molded on with a peg. Like they have a peg coming from the end that would normally stick to the vehicle. So if you get a 3/64, I think, drill bit, you can drill holes in the model and actually just shove those suckers in there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more precise than like trying to move. Slapping it on, right on the flat surface. Yeah. So I was really happy with how those worked. I really like those. Don't do it like leaning back in your chair, though. You're going to have to be up on your desk so that you don't lose any down in the crevices.
Oh, yeah, that's...
I'm sure there's one still glued to my thigh somewhere, but
I have a question. I mean,
yeah.
I was thinking about the steamroller when we were talking about it. Would it be possible? I mean, this is a... I mean, I need to get the def roller for my battle wagon.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about, as we were talking about it, I have all this extra sprue lying around.
Mm-hmm.
Could I create... I mean, I'm wondering if I could pull off, like, creating one with all this extra sprue and just doing something kind of terrifying with that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the thing about hobbyists. We do have sprue.
Yeah, sprue is good. You have to go through and, do it kind of a bit at a time, because you do have to go through and carve out the Games Workshop copyrights and stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea.
Because that looks really stupid. It does.
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing about that is what I would do, instead of just trying to glue that into stuff, do kind of what I did and find all the intersections.
Okay.
You know, the intersections where there's that little cylinder that pops out?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if you find those intersections and cut them out like into little X's, and then glue them end to end so that it's one long combine harvester of X's. And actually some of them split off in more than 4 directions. Some of them are like 5 or 6 directions.
Yeah, I had a
That's how I would do it. That would actually be a really great way of making a def roller, I think. And then after you do that, well, I wouldn't glue them together first of all. I would do a whole bunch of them. I would grab my hobby knife and put myself in grave danger and trim the edges, trim the ends so that they're spinities.
Yeah.
Then I'd glue them together. Obviously you want to make sure that they're in different turn, like you don't want them to line up, obviously.
Right.
So I would do that, and then I'd go through and add more stuff like orc choppas.
Yeah.
Like the stabby orc chop, like stabas, I guess they're called.
Yeah, I've got a few of those. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do. And you just go through and start adding stuff in between those X's, and I think you'll have a pretty good def roller there. I think that works.
I'd like to do something a little bit different, but I'd like to keep it with GW, so I could actually take it to a GW store.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I had that in mind when I was doing the battle wagon, the Gold Tubes battle wagon. The steamroller that won't ever be shown on Warhammer Live or anything like that. But Captain Goldtooth's battle wagon did show up on Warhammer TV, which was really nice. They said some really nice things about it. So if you want your stuff shown on Warhammer TV, just hashtag Warhammer Community on your pictures on Twitter and on Instagram.
Okay. Yep. I need to start doing that because I would like a couple of these things to pop up, and I think they might actually like them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. You have some really fun conversions, and your paint jobs are great.
Thanks. And what we're going to talk about, my hobby progress, shows that I'm losing my mind. But let's continue with your... I want to talk about your...
This is the time to lose our minds. So I worked on...
If you find mine, let me know.
Yeah, well... I'm sure you left it here somewhere. I painted a Terminator that Jason gave me. James gave. Sorry, James. There's so many Jameses and Jasons. That James gave me. James is a big Chaos player. He loves Thousand Suns.
Oh, James. Yeah.
And he had a bunch of Terminators. I'm not sure if I ever paid him for it, or if he said just keep it, or if I just reneged on giving him money. I don't know. Maybe I need to give him $10. I don't know. Anyways, I have a Terminator, and I painted it, and then I had an extra cultist as well, and I painted it in the colors of my Disciples of Purity kill team, which is awesome. I'm really happy with that kill team.
That was a really good job on that Terminator.
Thank you.
The whites on there. I mean, white is not an easy color.
No. Even
Man,
when you put it
it's
on really thin, sometimes it just starts chunking up anyways. It's crazy.
yeah. And then it's so difficult to give it depth. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose the depth if you're
So
not
I
careful.
used the Apothecary White as I didn't slop it on.
Mm-hmm.
I used it as like a recessed shade, and it works really nicely.
And that's the contrast?
It's a contrast. But then again, I still went in with some Nuln Oil at the very end and did a very thin edge between the white and the gold, because
that's the way to do it.
You need that. I know it looks cartoony, kind of, but it looks like a comic book. But if you're just painting, if you're not doing competition painting, I don't see how else you would do it.
Yeah.
So then I worked on our 9th edition Zone Mortalis updates. I'm still working on that. I still have to do the missions and a couple other things, but mainly the missions are still to be done. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll play a game after the missions are done.
Yeah.
I picked up my 9th edition loot from Flipside on Saturday.
Ooh.
I picked up the cards, the Open War deck, because awesome, and I picked up the Crusade Journal, which is a flaming garbage fire. It has a Crusade roster, and it's like on each leaf. Each leaf has a Crusade roster and a sheet, like a unit card.
Yeah, I saw.
So, like, why would you need a 1-to-1 ratio of Crusade rosters and unit cards?
Yeah, it's
you just don't. So that was really bad.
Maybe it's there to make photocopies.
Yeah, and one of the ICs / Splitter Mine group guys actually has created a super sweet Crusade roster on Google Drive.
Yeah, I need to go back and save that to my Google Drive.
Amazing work. Yeah. Thank you. So then we had I ordered some racks, WRACKS, from the Flipside eBay store after Brian let me know that my FLGS had them in stock. Thank you, Brian. I have 2 boxes of those. So that's the first new models I've bought in a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm setting those aside for now. I want to finish these projects that I have first, but those are going to be maybe not projects, because I want to do those for my league painting challenge. So we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
So those will be this month sometime in August, depending on what I do. The green stuff roller I ordered arrived. I also got the leaf punch, like I said, which I won't be using for a little while.
Right.
The Seraphon are going to be, I think, I don't think I'll be done with the orcs anytime soon, but I am considering doing a refresh on the Seraphon as well. Instead
going through and doing a little bit of paint work.
Yeah, instead of selling them and starting from scratch, I don't think that's necessary. I think I can just go through and add some more highlights and make them pop a little bit more, and add some leaf clutter to the bases and maybe a few other things. So the green stuff roller arrived. I haven't worked on the Thunderhawk yet because I realized I should have ordered green stuff along with the green stuff roller. So I have that coming from an eBay store.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I started apace working on the Gazgul diorama.
Yeah.
So the Realm Shaper engine is basically painted. You have a really eerie green glow emanating from the portal on the top, with major OSL going down it. And I finished painting yesterday the second edition Gazgul Thraka.
Mm-hmm.
I did him in the original scheme. I'm actually pretty freaking pleased with how he came out.
There's a lot of red and green on him.
Yeah, he's like shooting Christmas at
Yeah.
you. It's very interesting. But I'm happy with it, and I worked on Makari today, the second edition Makari. I might finish him tonight, depending on when we get finished here today.
Okay.
He's actually looking pretty good too. So I decided what I was going to do with them. The Makaris are going to be on the ground, behind the Gazguls. But I also gave each of them on their boss pole that they carry, I put a skull. And I chopped the top of the skull off, and I put green stuff flames coming out of the skull. So
cool.
not only is there going to be OSL coming from the portal, but there's OSL going to be coming from the flames on the skulls.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it'll look okay. I'm not going to go crazy with the OSL. So, like, for example, Makari has a banner coming down. I made out of masking tape. Yeah. I'm not gonna totally mess up my freehand on there by overlapping it with a bunch of OSL. It's just, that doesn't make any sense. But it'll be subtle, and I think it'll look good. Once Makari's done. Oh, so I've decided I'm gonna go get my old, like, 4th, 5th edition Gazgul, the metal one, and I'm gonna include him as a statue on the base as well.
Oh, that's rad, man.
So that'll be super cool. I think we're being invaded. I think there's an invasion happening. I'm not sure. There might be a monster coming up the stairs.
Oh, boy. It's a Quinn monster. There you go. Your Bio Titan's on its way.
And that's it for me. I really haven't done anything else except for dad stuff and homeowner stuff and various other Lifetime Achievement Awards. Jason, what have you been working on?
All right, what have I been working on? Let's see. What have I been working on? Okay, so I'm still finishing the Indominus minis. I just haven't finished the Assault Intercessors just because I haven't done it. I have been adding extra bits, though, for all the other stuff, like scroll cases and some Grey Knight book icons and whatnot. When I built the Outriders, the bikes, I didn't build them very well. So there's a little bit of gap right down the center because that's where you want a gap to be. But I just slapped a couple of Grey Knight icons on there and it hides it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. I did paint the Judicaire, whatever, Bob, for the GW thing, but they did not show mine, which is fine. But I did paint it in kind of an alternate scheme.
Is it fine, though? Black. Is it fine? It's kind of not fine.
I'm not going to be mad about it. How about that?
It was nice that they showed...
Oh, yeah, they showed Marks. Yeah, his stuff was great.
His Necrons, that was cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's see. For fun, I've been building and kind of painting some kind of Ink 28 mobile weapons platforms, these kind of weird tentacle monsters. If you've looked on my Instagram page, you'll see some of them. I've been using the tentacle roller from Green Stuff World, but I've been rolling them in a way that it kind of creates not so much a tentacle, but more of like a mechadendrite, where it looks more flexible and it looks more metallic. And I'm having a great time with that. And while, let's see what else. I finished building and painting this one. It was rather large that I've been working on for a few weeks. It's actually kind of a fun little mini. Also for Hobby Progress, I did hangouts with you, as well as some members of the IC's Patreons, Jason, John, and Paul Anthony. I always get his name wrong, and I feel terrible because I know he's got like 3 or 4 kids, and mostly daughters. And I also did the hobby hangout with John and a few of the Flipside people. Hi, Bill. It's good to talk to you again. Our buddy Bill from Flipside. It's the first time I talked to him, I guess, since I moved out of New York about 4 years ago. So that was a lot of fun. Let's see. I also started. Oh, here's a fun one. Talking about hurricanes, I'd started a hobby hangout with Adam and Dustin and Pete from NGC 40K. But about halfway through, or at least, maybe not halfway through, but I kept having light flickers and I lost power and internet service at some point, which then led to a lovely series of building things. We'll talk about in a minute. But it does seem I'm more sociable now in the pandemic than I was before the pandemic. Because I'm at home.
That's fantastic.
It's funny, it's like every night I've got something to do. It's like, all right, I got to be back home because I'm watching a concert or I'm hanging out with you and the guys, or yeah.
Sorry, I was a little absent during that last bit because I heard you talk about the decals and stuff. One of the IC's guys on their Discord painted up some cool. I think it was Ned. Ned is putting together some ecclesiarchy, like flagellants and stuff, and he backed a Kickstarter that is. I don't know why, but this toy goes off randomly. It's a car garage. Who wants their kid to learn how to park in a car garage? That's so banal. It's disgusting. Anyways, whatever. It's cute. Yes, find a place to park.
Yeah, there you go.
Good Lord. Anyways, so it's a Kickstarter for parchments and scroll work.
Oh.
That gives really nice detailed black and red scroll work for your parchments.
Okay.
And your scrolls.
Huh.
I think it's this one. It's the Forgotten Chapters scripts for parchments and scrolls, and I put it in our show notes just now, and I'll try to add it to. It's insanity.
Yeah.
It's absolute insanity how much text is on this decal sheet.
Let's see.
And there's a lot of fleur-de-lis and stuff too, which is a universal symbol. I'm not sure about these eyes because that doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like very universal to me. But hey,
these are pretty cool. I just brought them up.
Look at the size of that freaking sheet, man. It's insane.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of purity seals on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they have a cult one underneath that. If you scroll down, there's a big cult one with a bunch of like anarchy and pentagrams.
Oh, the second sheet. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not bad. You get one transfer sheet for €12 and 2 transfer sheets for €22. And so on and so forth. But that'll last you a while. You want to put it in like a gallon Ziploc bag to make sure it stays good.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, cool. Especially down there where it's so humid.
Yeah.
It's pretty humid here too, but it's really humid down there. So, anyways, that is the Forgotten Chapters Kickstarter.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like the late pledge is still open if you wanted to get in on it.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. Just looking at the Kickstarter, the initial pledge was $1,000, but they are €1,000, but they got 30,000 euros.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's a great. It's a pretty great thing. It's simple little stuff like this that people want and can use, and it's not really IP infringing. It's just another tool for your toolbox that you can use for lots of different projects. So,
Oh man, there are
I
so
really
many.
appreciate that.
That is cool.
Sorry,
Okay.
I interrupted you though.
Yeah, let's see. Where was I? Oh, I was more sociable. Oh, so yeah, hurricane. Had a hurricane, lost power, lost television, lost internet. Yeah. So I only lost power for about 17 hours, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was about middle of the day, nice and hot, where the AC came back on, which I've always been very happy with AC. I didn't realize how much I would miss it. Yeah. So, anyways, because I didn't have any sort of power for television or talking to anyone, and really any of that, I ended up building a bunch of. I kept building those servitors, those tentacle guys. So I built one that was based on a heavy bolter, so I could run that as like maybe a heavy bolter marine. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, a cyclone missile launcher. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out where that bit came from. Because it's a Dark Angels one, and I don't remember. I have no idea where that came from. And then another one around a grav cannon / amplifier, which I think was from the Centurion box, maybe. And as I was building all these, I was posting the progress on Facebook, and a friend of mine asked me, Keith, he asked me if I would build an Inquisitor that was kind of based around, this whole idea of tentacles and whatnot, or mechadendrites. And so for giggles, I built a Inquisitor. It's he's kind of in a chair. He's missing his legs, but it's pretty cool. I'm giving this to him, or however we're figuring this out, but I just kind of look at it and think, maybe I should keep it for myself. I don't know. I am digging it because I built it on I've started looking at unit designations, like actual stats, to try and make things a little bit easier with, because before I was just building stuff for fun, and then I realized, I've got to I have to find some sort of unit idea for this. But now I'm just kind of like looking at, okay, well, I can make this like an Ordo Malleus Terminator stats, and put a side cannon on there and a storm bolter, So anyway, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun building these goofy little servitors. They're interesting, and I can paint them up.
I think they're adorable.
Yeah, they're cute, aren't they? I'm going to blame Rob. What was Rob's last name? The guy who came up that one time with the really incredible Dark Hereticus army, or Dark Hereticus. Rob Mead, I think, was his last name. Yeah, I'm going to blame him for giving me these ideas.
Well, as long as you don't blame yourself, that's all that's important.
Yeah. I mean, that's his army was always incredible. So now I'm like doing my own take on a very odd Inquisitor retinue. All right, so that's my hobby progress. How about you, Adam? What about your games played?
Games played. Yes, yeah. I had an incursion game with. I don't know. What did I talk about my game with John the last time we played? I think I did, but I'll re-mention it. I had a game of Combat Patrol with John, which was fun. But I also had this incursion game with Mike from Flipside. This is a differenter Mike than the one we usually talk about.
Yeah.
His name is White Iverson on the Discord. He played his Death Guard versus my Drukhari.
Ooh. Okay.
I went with like 2 patrol detachments, 1 Witch Cult, 1 Cabal. And that was good fun. Man, those Death Guard grenades.
Oh,
oof.
Yeah.
I guess there's a way to like throw them 9 inches for some reason.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal.
Yeah,
but I won the game by 1 point.
Yeah. Oh wow,
which was
really?
fascinating. Yeah, and we didn't use Crusade rules. It was just doing a quick game, and I wouldn't be able to play 1,000 points anyways. I don't know if we're gonna wait until the new power level comes out to start playing Crusade or what. I'm just waiting. I mean, I don't care. Like, I'll
Yeah.
build a 50 power level list and just adjust after the fact.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to mostly do our. So we're doing a league at Flipside. So if folks want to, I think I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't open it up to listeners quite right this minute, but we've got like 10 or 12 people who are into it, and we're going to be doing a league, escalation league, starting at 500,000, 1,500, 2,000. We're going to go from August, September, October, November
Ooh.
until we have we're playing 2,000 point games of 140,000. It's mostly match play. We're using match play missions, but I'm pretty sure if I play somebody who would rather do a narrative mission, I'm pretty sure John doesn't care what we really do with
Oh
our
yeah.
lives. So I'm going to be using Crusade rules as much as possible for this league.
Cool.
I think you only have to get one game. I really need to read the rules again because I
Yeah.
forgot already. But I'm gonna
I
play
haven't
it.
looked at
I'm
them.
gonna play as many games as I can at each level. That way, I can actually build up a Crusade force of these Drukhari, and
Yeah.
get
Oh,
a kind of
cool.
a narrative going for how they got together. Like, I think that's kind of what I want to do with this. I want to kind of put together some kind of rolling narrative of how the three wings of the Drukhari side of my Eldari force got together, and how they chose to uh, kind of break away from the constant cycle of pain and rebirth and stuff, and follow the Inari. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That was and the game with Mike was super fun. We learned a lot from playing it, that ninth edition game. Jason, what have you been doing?
I have no 40K games to report. I did play Wingspan with you and Aaron last night.
That was fun, and we've been playing Can't Stop as well.
Oh, is that the name of that other one? Okay.
Hmm.
I didn't know. It was pretty cool too.
That's a fun dice game, good
Yeah.
palate cleanser. But man, we played Wingspan yesterday. I already told Flipside to order me one because it's so fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I was a little inebriated, so I was just having my own sort of fun over there. It's like, whatever. Asking you guys like, what am I doing? Oh well, at least I'm amusing whenever I've been drinking. Okay, so that's my games played. Shall we
Nice.
go to Beyond the Fringe?
Do I have a Beyond the Fringe?
I think so. It's written in the show notes.
Cool. Let me find out what it was. Oh, yes. Okay. I have a new favorite Facebook group that
Yeah.
everybody should join. It's called Star Trek Shitposting Facebook group.
So
And
do
it
I
is,
that?
that's between you and your God. I love,
I'll leave it.
I love it. Star Trek Shitposting, it's so fun, and it doesn't care. There are so many great Star Trek memes, and they don't put up with fash BS either. So like,
Yeah.
it's just great. I love
Cool.
it. It's really
So my Beyond the Fringe is actually making its second return in a row. It's going to be Zencaster again. I know. I know. I already chose that, but I'm choosing it again. Why? Little to no noise reduction, automatic normalization, automated downloads, online storage. This probably cuts down editing by at least, I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half. So yeah, I'm totally into that. Oh, my other Beyond the Fringe, electricity. Yes, electricity. What a nice thing. It, you know, I approve of it. I appreciate it. I'm glad it's here. Okay. because you need electricity to have air conditioning. So yeah, there we go.
That's true. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What next?
Well, what's next is I've put the word break in the show notes when in fact that is not a thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going straight on to the Astropathic Communiqué, which has a lot less 40K content in it because there's some stuff I want to rep.
Yeah.
The first thing is the TC Repo, the Tabletop Campaign Repository. They have started, it's a fellow who's put together a website to collate all the 40K and Age of Sigmar campaign content that people have been putting out, all the fan-made stuff that people have been using. Our stuff is being hosted there for posterity, so I'll keep on submitting stuff to him. And there's a lot of things out there that he's put a lot of effort into collating, which is good because, you know, this kind of fan work comes and goes as people give up on their hosting and stuff. So it's good to have.
Yeah.
It's a good site too. They put a pretty good site together with some good searching and keyword searches and stuff. Next we have the Realm of Plastic. Go to the realmofplastic.com. This person has put a ton of effort into creating name generators for your different factions.
Really?
Yeah, it's really neat. I think maybe I don't know if I think there's more to it than just taking the tables from the Psychic Awakening books and making a thing. I think there's a little more to it than that. So check that out, the realmofplastic.com. And there's also a lot of other content there too. So I like that.
Oh, I've been here before. I know this place. Yeah.
Next is Twitch Narrative Labs. They contacted us. We might be doing some advertisements for them. We had to make sure that they're not fascist jerks, because there's a lot of that in the narrative Warhammer community.
Yeah.
But they don't. I've watched a couple of streams, and it doesn't seem like they're fascist jerks. So we'll probably be doing an advert for them. They do live games of Warhammer where they've tied in the voting aspect of Twitch.
Oh, really?
And there's an API for Twitch where you can harness the votes and do things with them.
Uh-huh.
And then you can feed that. So you can write code that takes the information from the Twitch chat and does stuff with it, and then you can turn around and use that code to spit stuff back out at the screen. So, for example, there's some built-in stuff that like makes little animated bullshit go across the screen when you get a subscriber or whatever. What he's doing is he's taking the votes people do and turning it into effects that happen in the game. And it shows like the results like with runes and stuff on the screen. It's really cool. Now, the last video I watched, there were some technical difficulties, but you know, it's kind of early on in the process. I suggest folks get on there and try to help them work out some of the kinks and stuff, because it's a worthy cause. I think this is going to get really good pretty quickly if folks can support them and give them the positive reinforcement they deserve. I really like it. I'm going to try to join again for the next live one. I think it's really cool.
Cool. I'll have to go check that out. I did watch part of one of their streams, but I couldn't watch the entire thing, so.
Next, I guess the next thing to talk about is the actual 40K content, which is the Goliath tank that's being released.
The
Hover Predator, which is highly unfortunate because this is what I've been waiting for to do a Space Marines army. to do the Aurora chapter, and I'm like, they won't release anything for a long time. I'm just betting on a pipe dream. Well, gosh darn it. So again, I have sold off a lot of stuff. I've sold off 2 armies, 3 armies actually, because I sold off an army previous to this. I sold the Necrons, I sold the Emperor's Children, and I sold my old Space Marines because I can do better. I sold those Space Marines twice, by the way. I sold the small Marine version and the Primaris version. So all of that's gone. And I've sold off a bunch of plastic that I haven't built yet. I traded away a bunch of stuff. Like some stuff I just basically gave away for donations to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just getting rid of all this stuff so that I can be kind of clean.
Okay.
You know, I've got some doors and pipes and decorations for the Zone Mortalis, which I'm gonna keep, but that's not an immediate need project.
Right.
And I have the models for the Blackstone Fortress, and I have the models for the Elucidian Starstriders, and a couple of Inquisitors. But I'm going to keep those because I like those models, but I don't know what I'm doing with them yet. So I kind of don't count those as unrealized potential. They're just kind of resources that I can harness rather than, you know what I'm saying? They're just things that they're resources that are on the shelf for me to use when I need them. They're not like a Foucault's pendulum swinging back and forth with the turning of the earth, you know?
Yeah.
So, as it stands, all that's left is the Gazgul project, which I'm working on, and the Thunderhawk.
Okay.
And I'm doing these racks, but these racks kind of represent a ongoing thing where I'm going to be buying a kit, painting it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to buy this other kit? No, I'm not done painting this other kit yet. I'm going to stay at this place where I'm buying a kit and I'm painting it. I'm buying a kit and painting it. I'm not going to buy these bulk.
Right. Yeah.
And if I'm feeling really, really twitchy, I will repaint an Orc kit, or I'll repaint a Seraphon kit, because those are that's stuff that needs to be repainted. So that's my hobby going forward. So this Goliath tank identifies the fact that I am going to be doing another Space Marine army, but it's going to be one kit at a time. I'm not going crazy with this project. And I think that's a healthy way to maintain this hobby going forward.
Yeah, that's probably a really good idea. When I saw that come across the screen, I remember laughing a lot because, like, aha, the Aurora chapter rides, you know. But yeah, I think you'll actually enjoy that, and I think going through and one model at a time might actually keep you sane, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's really healthy, and like this past week, I've been running, and even with the sciatica, I've been running and stuff, and we've been eating really good. So Quinn's growing really well. So I want the hobby to reflect the feeling good. So we're going to keep that going.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Glad that's happening.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so why don't we take a quick break and come back, and we're going to talk about Engine War. And then after that, we're going to have another segment where we're going to talk about what was the name of the one that you did?
War of the Spider.
That's right. That's right. This episode is called Engine War of the Spider. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about Engine War. Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Well, don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for plus Blood Ravens Chapter plus on Facebook using the plus symbol if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power. Guard it well.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slip Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slip Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Dark Lance shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slip, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slip Party Bus! The classic Slip Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slip Party Bus! If you love the Slip Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
Welcome back. So let's start with the front plate of Engine War. I'm going to read from our hymnals page, probably VI or something. No, literally page 1.
I have mine. Yes.
It's this whole plate is a great reflection of what goes on in the mind of a Chaos Knight pilot. I don't know. They keep going back and forth of what they call the symbiote of the knight, mm-hmm. the human behind it, because sometimes they call it a I don't know. So I guess they just say pilot in here a bunch. So that's what I'm going to call it. We conquer now as we have always done, and we always will. It is our vow to ourselves, unbroken since the days when Terra seethed with 1,000 yelping monarchs. Wow. A vow to ourselves, he says, right?
Yeah.
Those days are here again. Let fools dash themselves against my walls, meaning his fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Let the weak bleed and whimper beneath my gaze. The galaxy will bend its knee to us this time.
Wow.
So there's power, this hunger for power, and the desire for vengeance, and kind of this spitefulness. The leadership of Terra is beneath their consideration.
Right.
You know, So this the engine war is fought over. The story of the engine war is fought over the fallen forge world of Ordex Thag.
Yeah.
It long fell to the ruinous powers, but first it had been kind of overrun by greenskins, which kind of initiated its fall. So it's been kind of it was too much to there weren't enough resources to restoke the forges and repopulate the planet after the greenskins moved off. A lot of the good equipment was carried away anyways.
Yeah, they'd have to go through and redo the entire thing.
Yeah. So, however, in those years since, the Dark Mechanicus kind of restoked the forges, powering them with the souls of the damned, psychers, and using geothermal heat for the planet's core.
Yeah.
Which is not great. I mean, when you're torturing psychers for their raw energy and mixing it with physical energy, you know that they're up to no good. So there's this ancient anomaly called the Siren Storm nearby.
Yeah.
And that's long. It's always kind of been there. It's this big kind of comma in the sky that kind of dominates the region as like a major point of, where chaos incursions come from and whatever. So then the Great Rift appeared, and the storm intensified. This Siren Storm, it intensified, and its influence kind of dominated the sky and the attentions of the nearby systems. So what I was thinking was I would go through the entire engine war section, and then you could just do the one you read, because I actually didn't read any of.
These are both too meaty. Both these books are meaty. I will say that.
You're going to be teaching me all about engine or all about War of the Spider, because I didn't read any of it.
Cool. This will be fun.
Yeah. So the fallen tech priests produced countless unholy works, but they were just building blocks for the true heresy. So they built a bunch of robots and stuff. It's whatever. The real thing, the real important work here at Ordex Thag was this kind of almost like a warp tractor beam sort of thing.
Okay.
It's like this weird whip of energy that they're creating by torturing all these souls that's being generated by an engine at the core of the planet. There's this pyramid-shaped resonator spire, right?
Yeah.
That creates this localized disturbance in the immaterium, which manifests as a tear in reality. But it's kind of like a whip that touches the scar, the Siren Storm.
Yeah.
And it's reaching out, and the plan is to generate enough psychic momentum that this Terran reality can be whipped towards Terra itself.
Whoa.
And kill finally destroy the Emperor's palace and whatever. It's not too far away. We talked about this location in a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not too far from Terra, actually.
Oh, okay.
If we're talking about the whole galaxy, it's not too far.
Okay.
And when we're talking about warp stuff, a warp tear could move faster than light because it's moving kind of in the immaterium.
Right. Yeah, it's actually traveling through the warp. Yeah.
So the Dark Mechanicus has also employed the assistance of Magnate Wersk. Of House Lucaris. Mm-hmm. Wersk's motivations were obviously not born from any kind of sense of duty, unless you're talking about the duty to himself and his own house, but to play a part in driving the final lance through the heart of the Imperium. That he so despise. Like his goals are very. It's selfish, but it's also a grandiose selfishness. which is interesting. Like a warped version of knightly honor. Moreover, he was promised an array of technological wonders with which to equip his knights and break his foes. So as such, the Wersk's lances were looted. They looted nearby systems, taking material. More importantly, those worlds' psyker tithes, which were very much needed to fuel Ordex Thrag's forges.
Right.
So they would show up and they would blow up a bunch of stuff, but their target would be that world's psyker tithe.
Ooh, and that's going to annoy the black ships and Sisters of Silence. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, when they show up, they'll be like, where's your tithe? Oh, they were stolen. It's not a good excuse. We're going to bombard your planet. So that's nice.
Yeah, you know.
When they weren't off looting, the fallen knight houses and Dreadblades held court in their hell-wrought citadel of Kiesberg, which is kind of on the other side of the planet from the warp tower. So the battlements and the keeps of Kiesberg were themselves abominations made up of twisted, damned metallic constructs and whatever. Giant colossal monuments to Wersk's house, Lucaris. The whole city is just this monument to their twisted ambitions and hubris. It's a abysmal monstrosity full of dead ends, traps, hiding places. Like it's a giant Imperial Knight like trap. That kind of reminds me of the world of Solaris from BattleTech, actually.
Oh, okay.
In BattleTech, the great houses are all, they all fight each other, but there's a neutral planet called Solaris where battle mechs fight in single combat in kind of a arena type situation. That's what the Kiesberg reminds me of.
Okay, yeah. I don't know BattleTech very well, but I'll take your word for that.
Nice.
Actually, I don't know BattleTech at all, so yeah, there we go.
So let's talk about the reclamation fleets now. So the priests of Mars were desperate to maintain their grip on the Forge worlds throughout the galaxy, so that's how they kind of tie in here. It's not just heresy that they fear, but simple independence. So it's not just, the Forge worlds falling to chaos, right? It's even those Forge worlds becoming independent powers unto their own, which would reduce the power. It would reduce the amount of power that Mars has over everything. It's all a political game with them, and they need to maintain their grip, which makes a lot of sense with the High Lords being the way they are, and the Adeptus, the Administratum, and everything. Like, I can see why Mars would be afraid to lose some of their sway.
Yeah,
because it's dangerous to not have power in the Imperium, at least at that level. So they created several vast Mechanicus reclamation fleets, which were sent forth from Mars and bolstered by a vast cross-section of Imperial armed forces. There's some Sisters of Battle, Astromotarm in there to help them. And they waged a crusade of both hope and vengeance against the encroaching darkness. Their primary goal was to make contact with whatever Forge worlds they could in the hopes of reestablishing contact. Now, one might argue that these reclamation fleets also represented more than just a desire to maintain the status quo, but an effort for Mars to take advantage of the situation and increase their power base and loot the relics of other Forge worlds.
Yeah.
This is only kind of implied in the book, but it really feels like it, because who knows what power Mars actually had over these Forge worlds previously, and now they're kind of, it seems like they're kind of taking advantage of all of this anyways. So here's some examples of some. Now they have a map that shows where all these fleets are going, and some of them are marked and some of them are not. The ones that are not marked are great. I mean, the ones that are marked are great for, you know, putting your own spin on it and doing a force of Mechanicus that are, you know, that are on this crusade. But there are also like arrows that go to different locations and are not marked. And those are great ways to extrapolate for your own stories.
This is page Fleet 8 and 9 on your hymnal.
Thank you.
I brought mine. I have mine here. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fleet M4 Hui Omega was sent to reignite the Chorus Belt Forges. This is just straight out of the book. In the Ultima Segmentum near Metallica, this is the story that we read. They found the world of Scorifex pretty well damned, so they released the Radiant Wrath upon the world. We find out in this that, you know, that Skitarii warrior, it'll take 373,000 Terran standard years to decontaminate the radiation.
So we're not moving back anytime soon.
No.
But there's a chance we'll be back. Okay.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yep.
Fleet Cora Haldeck is headed for the Styges, and was redirected to the Outer Dark. It looks to me like this is the region of where the Blackstone Fortress from Warhammer Quest is.
Oh, okay.
So I guess one of these reclamation fleets is going to try and take over the Blackstone Fortress. I haven't read the lore that's going on with it. I guess the last one is being released, so I'm sure there's some storyline in there that we need to read about.
I have not. I know they've released 2 books. They released a novelization, then I think they released a series of short stories. I haven't read the short stories yet. I do have the latest kit they released, which was the Archivist, which is built but not painted. Gray not painted plastic. Shame. Anyway, but yeah, hopefully they're going to do something else to continue the Blackstone Fortress, because it's been a lot of fun.
Fleet Sigma Decapod was sent from Forge World Lucius into the Gothic sector in Imperium Noctis. They apparently happened upon some wacky technology that's required the termination of several witnesses. The Yacto Particulate Crucible. So protons and neutrons are just under 2 yoctograms. So I don't know, tiny particle crucibles. And the altar of the Pangerus Biologus. Pangerus means a gathering of holy folk for communion and learning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So a gathering of holy biologist people and their altar, I guess.
That sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's these little tidbits, right, that we get in codexes and in campaign books that kind of spurn creativity. Creativity, not spurn. Spur creativity.
Did they go through and like kill all the people in the altar?
There's no way of knowing, but you can play that out in your games.
Just wondering.
Fleet 19E389B was sent into the deep south of Segmentum Tempestus, which is very near my night house, Ordo Draconis, their homeworld, in order to purge some heretics with the Seer's Gate. They did at that with the divinely painful disintegration of all blasphemers, end quote. They also reclaimed several cryptic curiosities. One is Devoral's Necrocagistrat. I almost said it. Necrocagatrix, the Cryptosis Catacombs, and Genna's World.
Wow, I'm so glad I have to read that.
There's just all these just little proper nouns that they're shooting out there that you can use in your campaigns. There's enough, like I said, there's enough arrows to show different reclamation fleets that can spark your own imagination and devise your own narratives. There's one headed for Cadia and the Nakaman Gauntlet, and it splits off. So it's really there's some interesting things.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on. I mean, I have the book, so I went ahead and opened up that map, and it even shows stuff on the other side of the rift.
Yeah,
like Lucius has. Oh, that's the reclamation fleet.
Yeah,
at Decapod.
Yeah. So there is communication between the Forge Worlds and Imperium Noctis and Imperium.
Obscurus.
Whatever. Sorry. So the fleet that we are talking about in this book is a Reclamation Fleet Krull. So it's led by Dominus Zu Krull, which is accompanied by Baroness Swordhen of House Terran and her battle group of knights from various other houses, which went by the name of the Para March. More than anything, the noble knight houses desire to bring justice to their kin, so meaning the Chaos Knights. It's kind of a stain on their honor that they even exist. The Mechanicus, for their part, they hope to halt whatever unclean plans the Dark Mechanicus has in the works, and also rescue whatever ancient technologies that remain salvageable on the world so infested. Sadly, wherever they went, they found the miracles of the machine god twisted and ruined for all time.
Yeah.
Wherever they went, they found cavorting demons, haunted machines. They were also noticing signs of Chaos Knights, led by Fallen House Lucaris. They were on the move, and they found these pick captures of the knights corralling Psyker tithes and absconding away with them, which we already talked about. Knight Seneschal Swordhen despised Psykers. She is not a fan of them.
Oh, okay.
And she uses whatever methods she has at her disposal, including sorcery, of course, in order to wipe them out. It's just the classic. It's just classic. It's like...
it's so 40K.
And I love like the hypocrisy is just all in the same breath, right? They don't even reveal it as a spooky secret reveal at the end that she uses the Emperor's Tarot and a bunch of other psychic methods to find out where these enemies are.
Yeah.
It's not a big reveal. It's like immediately mentioned that, she uses Psykers to find these Psykers and kill them.
Wow. Okay.
Like she believes that they should just all be wiped out. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a little bit. So the fleet faced many challenges throughout their travels. They swiftly brought isolated Forge Worlds back into the Martian fold. If a world was actually found intact, or at least holding their own against the darkness.
Yeah.
But they also just purged the worlds they found wanting. Krull was able to establish a line of supply and communication as he liberated or eliminated one Mechanicus territory after another, until his luck ran out and his fleet were overcome by a warp storm. Krull was forced to follow the only faint astropathic beacon the navigator could sense, no matter what fell power it might represent. Unfortunately, what the astropaths and navigators had sensed was, in fact, the resonator spire on Ordex Thrag.
There's a light over in the Frankenstein place.
There's a light burning in the fireplace.
That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, hey, look, there's a beacon for us. They'll give us safety.
No, what they're going to do is they're going to launch their bastion into space. Obviously, that's a thing that could actually happen.
Yeah.
But there is a light in the darkness of everybody's life, so that's good. So Many tech priests are disturbed by the psychic awakening which humanity is undergoing. What some in the Imperium view as miracles, which, we saw in the stories, many among the Adeptus Mechanicus and throughout the Imperium, to be honest, they see as a vehicle for the taint of illogic. These things can't be explained logically, therefore it represents something unclean to them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't classify it, therefore they fear it. And, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, obviously.
Of course.
That's just logic. This has already caused a schism among the Mechanicus, a secret cult known as the Teeth of the Cog, which has great disdain for psychers, even useful individuals such as astropaths and navigators. I don't know how they expect to get from place to place if they don't have astropaths or navigators, but okay. Kroll belonged to this cult, and it was they who had provided the Varlin device, which we learned about in the short story.
Mm-hmm.
It was reportedly capable of emitting a null field so strong that it could erase any psychic presence on a planetary scale. So, this sounds a lot like the book we read, the Mechanicus books we read, Scutarius and Tech Priest.
Oh man, that's been a long time ago.
That's a while ago, but we know what happens when you use that device. Sure, it erases the taint of chaos in one area, but all it does is move it, make it worse.
It's just relocating it.
Yeah, basically. Instead of regaining their bearings and returning to their original course, Kroll announced his intention to strike at Ordex Thrag and wipe out the tainted technocults infesting its surface. He reminded all of his followers of their primary directives to maintain the technological purity of the machine god and wipe out any unclean influences. When making his case for attacking Ordex Thrag, Kroll informed his magi that he was in possession of the Varlin device, and he intended to field test it on Ordex Thrag and the Dark Mechanicus' tainted experiments within. His real purpose here is to do this field test. He doesn't really care about Ordex Thrag at all.
Mm-hmm.
They fought, initially assaulting the well-defended and trap-laden stronghold of Keysburg. The attacking forces of the Mechanicus and Knights became trapped in a maze of towering walls and were subjected to one crippling ambush after another. Dominus Kroll was forced to set the Varlin device to detonate short of the prime ground zero. So, the story shifts to the point of view of the Knights. While that attack on Keysburg was going on, a lance of knights led by Sir Dakar assaulted the primary target, the Resonator Spire. The spire was massive, and all around it crawled teeming masses of the damned. It was unclear whether these were physical beings or soul shades of the tortured dead. Yeah, it's great. As they approached the position of the spire, it defended itself by summoning forth a tide of demonic entities.
Ooh.
The pilots within the night suits all experienced brief memories of the old night. So this is cool. This shows how the Imperial Knights remember things, because it contains the spirits, kind of these fettered spirits of the previous pilots. So they actually have memories from before the Imperium.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it shows that like they fought these things before, but it was during the time when warp storms racked the entire galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So their knights had fought these beings before, but over 10,000 years ago, before the age of the Emperor. Disgusted, the nobles fought valiantly against the warp spawn and also the demon engines which came at them from the fissures crisscrossing the landscape. Sir Morgan, a Freeblade, was engulfed in sickly flames. Lady Olwen, in honor of Dominus, was torn to pieces by Furies after her throne mechanicum had been exposed by the axe of a bloodthirster. I mean, she killed the bloodthirster.
Wow.
But then the Furies ate her. A Helverin was dragged into the earth by demon engines, just like kind of like Freddy Krueger dragging somebody into the ground. Still, Sir Dekar in Drakefire, a plucky knight errant, managed to get into position to assault the spire, only to be thwarted by a whip-wielding greater demon.
Wow, okay.
Slaneshi demon, yeah. From out of the mists, the Freeblade Knight Paladin, the one that got engulfed in flames, is just like sizzling with like all its paint burned off and stuff, assailed the demon, selling his life so that Sir Dekar could plunge his gauntlet into the spire and rip out its guts. Literally, actually, because the spire was like part fleshy, gross, and part mechanical, yeah.
Okay, so it's biological components. Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of the chaos stuff seems to have some kind of tainted biological, even if it's not like Nurgle-y, it still seems to always have some kind of biological manifestation. An explosion ripped across the landscape, tearing the demons away to the unreality whence they came. That was not due to the damage the knight did to the spire. It was actually the detonation of the device.
Okay.
Everything is kind of described a little out of order, but I think it kind of makes sense how it's described. So next we talk about the Pada March itself, the assault on Keysburg. So Baroness Sorden and her Knight Warden led 3 lances to assault the main gate, while 2 others assaulted positions on either side to ensure their flanks were protected. Which is good, but with these fissures on the ground, it seemed to me like that was quite a risk.
Yeah.
Also,
they can't maneuver.
Yeah, and the firepower of the defending gates was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The Baroness and her 24 companions angled their ion shields and coordinated a staggered approach.
Wow.
So once the front ranks started taking damage, they fell back while fresh knights took their place in the front. All the while, the knights kept up the rate of fire on the gatehouse battlements. When they finally approached the gates, 3 knights valiant took the fore and used their harpoons to tear down the walls of the gatehouse. The fighting in Keysburg proper was bloody. The place was booby-trapped, Chaos Knights outnumbered the Imperials, and they knew the terrain better. Sorden was forced to swallow her pride in order to retreat. But just as they were backing out of the breach, the explosion of the Varlin device rocked the planet. Both Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights paused, swooned, or were rendered inert by the blast. The effects of a null field on the Chaos Knights were obvious. They were badly affected by the device. But even the Loyalists suffered because the anti-psyker component of the device stripped away some of the spirits inhabiting their suits.
Oh.
Yeah, some of the psychic feedback actually killed some of the nobles as their geists died in horrible pain, like just ripped away from the suit. Some were distracted, so they were killed as they were distracted. Still, the Imperial Knights did fare better than the Chaos ones in the explosion. And they fell back to the extraction point. When they got to the extraction point, Kroll was like delighting in his victory or whatever, and the Baroness just yoked him up and grabbed him. And the Skitarii just kind of shot at her. They're just plinking bullets and radiation blasts off their bodies. And it's just funny. The knights just kind of walked back to their transport while a bunch of Skitarii shot her. It was great. Like later, one of the knights talk about how she couldn't believe how the Baroness was able to hold Kroll in her fist without squishing them like a bug.
Yeah.
So
every time I hear Baroness, I think of G.I. Joe. Sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Because it was not detonated in the prime location, the Varlin device had not managed to negate all of the demonic presence on the world, so instead it broke the bonds holding the demonic entities imprisoned. So instead of wiping out everything, obviously the warp anomaly isn't going to attack Earth, right? Like, that part is broken. But the demons that were trapped, partially fueling it, were released. So first off, they attacked Wersk because he's kind of in charge of tormenting the demons.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not sure if he's lucky he's dead, but he's probably not dead.
No, he's not.
Fortunately, the Skitarii had already been in preparations for rescuing Dominus Kroll from the Imperial Knights when the demons struck, but the demons rapidly overwhelmed the vessels, and the ships altered their course and burrowed towards the system's star. I'm not sure if they're going for Mandeville Point or if they're just all going to die. Hard to say.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's implied there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's the end of that story. I think they're dead. I'm pretty sure those guys are dead. Yeah, that's probably, or whatever.
Yeah, or they'll wish they were.
Or they'll wish they were, exactly.
Yeah.
So some of the sidebars and Echoes of Awakening, we tend to talk about these Echoes of Awakening.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to go through them again, see if we can spot any of the prognosticating for future books that were done earlier on. You know what I'm saying? Like if anything was hinted at that was coming up in Engine War that they talked about way back when.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if those... I mean, I'm sure there are. You know.
So the Lodge of the True Spark finds a holy STC for Metallica. Not sure if this refers to the Radiant Wrath or something else. An Astropath talks about a conversation she had with another Astropath who heard bestial noises from sendings from the world of Morsh. I looked that up. I couldn't find anything about it. Chanting for the Burgu Strait. I think these are just proper nouns that they came up with to talk about these sounds in the warp.
Yeah.
She is arrested and interrogated, so good for her. This is a quote. When the Palekin come to play, there will be time for nothing as boring as tears.
Ouch.
That's great. Who are the Palekin? I don't know. I would say Eldari. I would say probably Drukhari.
Yeah.
There are a lot of burgeoning psychers at Panna Magna, which is an Italian dessert.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, someone actually decided to name this planet Panna Magna, which is an Italian dessert. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like some kind of like pastry filled with creme fraiche and chocolate. Yeah. Passive monitoring of a group of guardsmen at Jaker 5 who seem to be conspiring to take up arms against Imperial rule of that world. Penal indenture recommended following prejudicial termination. I'm not sure. Okay. Who's being... I'm not sure how you can put some in a penal colony when they're terminated, but maybe they don't mean everybody.
Well, whoever didn't die in the first orbital bombardment gets to be arrested.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, hey, congratulations, you survived. Here you go.
There is a message that seems to be from Fabius Bile to a mobile Rejuvant facility. Zygosite Imperator.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recognize that name, but
then there's a Vox Thief recording. I like that phrase, that term Vox Thief. Like it's obviously like a communications intercept.
Yeah.
And it's Baroness Sordin, and she's beating the crap out of Kroll just because. And during this conversation,
Yeah.
she comes to understand that Kroll is part of this secret organization. I mean, in not so many words, like they come to find out that they have equal belief in wiping out all psychers.
Yeah.
And he promises her that he's proven he has the ability to kill every last psyker. So she acquiesces to hear him out. So we have these anti-psyker forces as part of this psychic awakening, right? Which makes a lot of sense. You do have these miracles and these things that we see as wonderful things that are happening to help the Imperium, but there's always a way that the Imperium finds to turn any positive into a negative.
Yeah. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's clearly a strong force which is resisting the psychic awakening in the Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the rules.
Yeah.
In previous psychic awakening books, we've had these theaters of war.
Yeah.
These are morphing into something more complex in Pariah when we talk about that.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in the last episode. We're going to go into detail about those in episode 148. In this one, we get the Theater of War hazardous fumaroles. These are kind of crevasses and pits throughout the battlefield, each with their own unique features. It's possible that the effects are enhanced in various ways, like a random roll or whatever. I think it's cool. It would be cool to use like craters to represent these fissures, and then you can put like little slips of paper to say what they are and what they do. I think this is cool. It's not the fully fleshed out theaters of war like from Pariah, but I think it's a neat little effect you can add to your games.
Yeah. I've there's one for War of the Spider as well that's pretty interesting.
So the Echoes of War mission is the breaching of the Keysburg.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the attacker has a really narrow deployment on the long battlefield edge. So that represents the breach point, the gatehouse that they came into. And it's only a 12 inches by 12 inches, so putting a bunch of Imperial Knights in there is not easy.
Right.
So they'll have to come in through reserve, and when they do come in from reserve, they come in through that breach point. There should be lots of terrain because it represents this kind of maze / combat arena situation. So there should be lots of terrain, but units should be, or it should be spaced out enough that knights should be able to move through it. Not only that, terrain actually provides a save to knights, and actually a -1 to hit knights if you measure center to center. I would continue to use this rule even with the new terrain rules, because the intent here is that it's a battlefield intended for knight versus knight combat.
Right.
The objective is nothing more than power level killed. So you compare power level killed. The attacker stratagems are neat. There's one for charging and shooting, +1 save from overlapping ion shields, and rerolling charge and wounds. These are all the kind of stratagems you'd expect for assaulting knights that are assaulting a position. The defender stratagems are reroll 1s to wound against a model on the breach. So it's like this overlapping, it's easy to just shoot things that are coming in the same hole, right?
Yeah.
They have
to aim.
There's one for having the strength of enemy weapons because you're in a protected position. And there's also a really neat thing where you can put out a snare. So you draw a line 6 inches from any terrain piece, and if an enemy moves over it, they take mortal wounds.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's a pretty cool mission. I like it. There's some good ideas in it that you can use for your games. The objective is very simple, but all the stuff around that are built around that objective is what makes the mission interesting. And that's a good point to talk about. If you're making a scenario, you don't have to make complicated objectives to make it interesting. All the stuff that supports the objective could be the thing that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's even more important to do a simple objective when you have a lot of complicated things going on. So I don't want to go over all the other rules in the book. I mean, that's what other podcasts are for.
Yeah. But
what I do want to talk about is some of the new Adeptus Mechanicus units in the book, because I didn't know how these fit into the lore.
Yeah,
until I read this.
And this book is basically their I want to call it this, but it's like a codex supplement until they get their next codex.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but it'll be a while, I think. So
yeah, I do too. Yeah.
And I think it's important that folks pick this up if they're a Mechanicus player. Clearly, we're going to have Space Marines real soon and Necrons real soon. I don't see them doing Mechanicus very soon, but who knows, right? Who am I? So let's dig in.
Yeah.
Let's dig in. The first is the Tech Priest Manipulus. I think the models was available in
the Kill Team box.
Kill Team box. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He's a big fatty. He's really cute.
It's a really awesome model. I've seen a lot of conversions using this guy.
He's doing the shish. He's got his finger up telling you to shush.
He's a cool looking model. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. So I was a little confused what his purpose is in the lore.
Yeah.
The description that they gave offers no help whatsoever. I assume the Kill Team box has some missions and stuff and some better descriptions.
Probably. I did not pick up that Kill Team box.
So what they do have is the ability to sequester a lot of energy, a lot of the motive force in this galvanic cell that they have within their bodies, and they channel it through their electropositors, which is gross. It says they tend to be really hungry for new sources of energy. If you go to the GW website, it describes them as being the keepers of the motive force. So they're kind of the energy directors of the Mechanicus.
Got it. Okay.
They deal with how power is generated and conducted and purified. So that's cool. Again, it's a gorgeous model.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad that they've released. I think they've released it as a clan pack.
Have they?
Supposed to. Well, it was released as part of the Kill Team box.
A lot of stuff hasn't been released separately, unfortunately.
Oh, that one hasn't been yet? Okay.
I think it did. I did find it. It might not be available right now, but yeah, it's a gorgeous model. His belly is a giant. He has a robot belly. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think you could mix this guy up with Caradron Overlord's bits and stuff, and it would look really good.
Oh yeah, it's a great looking model. I mean, I thought the friend of mine who had it was considering selling it, and I thought, do I want to buy that or do I want to wait till when I know it's probably going to be released? So I've decided to wait. So
it would be good for Inquisimunda type stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the as I look at it, I keep thinking he'd be, just great in that setting.
Yeah, tubby bastard. All right, the Cerberus Cavalry. These are the robot dogs with robot people on them.
Yeah.
They're mounted Skitarii warriors. They've proven themselves capable of more independent roles on the battlefield. So these are veterans. Although they're kind of maglocked to their mounts and noospherically. That's a phrase that's used in the books a lot. And the noosphere is basically the Wi-Fi internet.
Yeah.
they're connected to the senses of the beast, so they can they sense what the beast senses. But they're still separate beings.
They kind of remind me, and I hate to say this because it's mixing IPs,
mm-hmm.
but it kind of reminds me of the Tauntauns, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if they're dog brains also. That would explain, because there's got to be a biological component. But I see them as being a little more complex than vat-generated cybermastiffs. I think that they're, being proper Scutari. I think they would probably have proper dog brains being used here. The sulfur hound, there's two kinds so far. The sulfur hounds, they're these violent creatures that shoot flames from their faces. Good for them. They use Scutari Vanguard as their riders. Yeah. So again, this kit, just like all the other kits, splits between Scutari Vanguard parts and Ranger parts. So this is the Vanguard version.
It's gonna have a lot of extra bits.
Yeah, it is. So they shoot flames out their face, and they have a radiation aura, just like the Scutari Vanguard do.
Yeah.
Then the Raiders, they're more like proper cavalry. And they use the Rangers as their riders, and they fulfill a scouting role. And that's reflected in their rules with like pregame movement, sniper abilities, and enhanced data tethers. So they're very, very thematic way of splitting those two units, very much like the actual Vanguard and Rangers. Mm-hmm. We have the same kind of split between the Pteraxi.
Yeah.
I should have made the P a lowercase p so I could.
What's that? A pterodactyl? Rah, rah.
Yeah. They're these highly modified Scutari warriors who are equipped for personal flight with their jetpacks. They have these enormous wings. There's two types of Pteraxi, which kind of mirror the Cerberus, actually. So while all Pteraxi have leg augmentations, the Sterilizors, so dumb. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's dumb great. It's great dumb.
Yeah.
They end in enormous talons, obviously nicked from watching Zagstruck do his thing.
Yeah.
Which they employ on the enemy after setting them on fire with their phosphor torches. It's not nice.
That bit looks... I mean, I'm looking at the picture. The phosphor... Was it the phosphor torch bit looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just interesting, fun stuff to kit bash with. I hope.
The Pteraxi Skystalkers, on the other hand, have more ranged combat. They're Harriers with rapid-fire assault weapons and pistols at their disposal. They also have grenades, which they drop like bombs on their opponents.
Ooh.
Yeah, all the Pteraxi have the innate ability to launch themselves out of combat whenever they please and land in a nearby location, like a deep strike, which is really nice. Instead of mechanical elevators and ailerons, the wings of a Pteraxi feature webbing, which morphs into the shapes necessary for nimble flight. So they don't have like flaps or whatever. The webbing just moves like skin. No, it's like prehensile skin flaps.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's not just the Pteraxi that have that. The Archaeopters have that. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of this extension of the Pteraxi. It kind of reminds me of Valkyries from Robotech.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also, the Questor Imperialis and Legio Titanicus have a similar battle tech too, actually, where the Archaeopters are actually extensions of the Pteraxi themselves who pilot it. So the Pteraxi remove their own wings and they plug into the Archaeopter where their wings would be, and also their legs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're hardwired into the machine. And the Archaeopter is used as a gunship, transport, and other mundane operations. I think there's been some situations where we've seen the Archaeopter used as a kind of like to drop off equipment and stuff. and despite the role, they're incredibly nimble thanks to the sensory integration with the pilot and the morphing abilities of the nanocarbon fiber weave, which works exactly the same way as the Taraxi. Lastly, we have the Scorpius armored vehicles. There's not much to say about their tanks.
Yeah.
Hover tanks.
They look cool, though.
They're an obvious addition to the range. It had to happen eventually. The Dune Rider is the transport. The Disintegrator is the main battle tank. Both also feature a broad spectrum data tether, which provides leadership bonuses. Mm-hmm. Now, the lore that explains a lot of the tactics utilized by the Scorpius are pre-programmed into the machine spirits, and they're happiest when unleashing devastation, but they do not appreciate having their weapons removed. They don't like that. So, like, when they're used as transports, they're super grumpy. So a lot of the time you just see them floating behind marching troops instead of actually transporting them, which is adorable.
They need a Snickers.
Yeah, they need a Snickers.
Yeah.
They talk about the 4 holy orders. This section seems somewhat lazy to me. So you have the learnings of the Genitor, which is like a Magos Biologus order. And they're learned in medicine, genetics, and cybernetics. And their warlord traits affect the morale or survivability of friendly units, or penetrating the defenses of enemy units because they understand the inner workings of the body. The analyses of the Logos, tech priests who specialize not just in the collection of data, but using it to make precise predictions through the calculation of probability. So these are warlord traits focusing on prognostication. Divination of the Magos, they represent the unrelenting protection of knowledge at all costs, which should be all of them. I don't understand. It's kind of a catch-all, generic catch-all warlord traits for the Adeptus Mechanicus, in addition to the ones available through the Codex. Fabrications of the Artisan, these are tech priests who do the work of interpreting the holy templates and executing their construction. Warlord traits that modify the behavior of weapons and vehicles. So while I feel that the categories are somewhat weird, I like the idea of having special warlord traits for special tech priests and Magos. Customizing your character to be specialized in a specific science is important to me. I think I really like that a lot.
Yeah, that can make your Crusade force a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And we talk about, like, I love the idea of I'm not making a Mechanicus army, but I love the idea of doing a Magos Biologus.
Yeah.
And just bringing in models from across 40K.
Yeah.
Like Tyranids and stuff. How cool would that be?
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
Shut up, Adam.
I'm trying not to...
Bad.
I'm trying not to... what's what I'm looking for? Encourage you. So I'm just going to be quiet.
You know what? There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There's lots of stratagems that help specific units. I really wish they'd put these on the data sheets themselves.
Yeah.
It's like if a unit has a stratagem that's specific to that unit, put it on the data sheet for that unit, and I don't know.
Well, maybe that will be in the new app. The iOS app is not where it needs to be just yet.
It's not. It is. It is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
My favorite stratagem is the Olfactorum Aggressor Imperative, which means
sounds interesting.
Doggies smell good and go fast.
Oh, I can already see the list you could run. I'm already seeing it.
Man, just full of good boys and good girls.
That's right, man. That's all. It's... Yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
There's a new Forge World Dogmas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to pretend I know everything about how the Adeptus Mechanicus works. There's a lot of overlapping abilities.
Yeah.
This is an army for people who love kind of the layering things on, you know, which is good. That's good for some folks. Really want that extra complication because it does let you boost things, but it also is good. It's a good way to represent the Mechanicus, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
it's tell an interesting story.
It's this logical group of beings who take technology from all kinds of different eras and all kinds of different worlds, and they use it to affect the battlefield performance and also improve the lives of the people of the Imperium. So it makes sense that the rules also kind of do this synchronization and overlapping paradigms in the rules itself. So I like that. I have no idea what I just said. Anyways, Forge World Dogmas help you come up with your own special abilities. For each type, you have a primary ability which you must take, and then you can pick among a handful of secondaries. I think they were trying to balance the choose your own adventure, like chapter tactic type things, like faction rules. The three are Rad Saturated Forge World, Expansionist Forge World, and Data Horde Forge World. I am not going into all of that. But again, I am all for any rules that let you come up with your own narrative.
Yeah.
If I were doing that by the Magos Biologus, I would probably go with I guess either Data Horde or Expansionist, but I almost feel like Expansionist would be the best because you'd be constantly seeking out different life forms.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can give you the chance to go through and, pick up that NID box and give it some Mechanicus type bits and
some hoses and some clearly.
Yeah.
We have different canticles of the Omnissiah for established Forge Worlds to be selected before the battle. I don't know why they needed to do different canticles of the Omnissiah than the ones they already had.
Yeah.
But okay. Hey. Variety is the spice of life, man. Yeah. It's all good. Then there's a name generator, which is the best part. I bought this book. I bought this book just for the name generator. I hate matched play players who are like, "Well, you wasted 3 pages on name generators." There's no. You're not the center of the universe, buddy. Maybe I wanted a name generator.
This is a pretty interesting name generator, though. Let's see. Hold on. I'm on the Adeptus Mechanicus one.
So wait. What page is it in our hymnals? Because I want to come up with a name.
Page 53.
I just spilled White Claw all over everything.
Ruh-roh.
It's fine. I have a dice.
All right. Give me some numbers here. We need an alpha element and a beta element.
Okay. My alpha element is 62.
Okay, 62. Decima.
And my beta element is 62 again.
Decima Rhombor.
Decima Rhombor. Oh my god, I am covered in. Alright, you do one now.
Okay. Do I have any dice near me? No.
I'll roll it for you.
Okay, roll it for me. What we got?
35.
Okay, 35. Garba.
43.
Garba dash 66.75/MK98 Mark 98. Wow. Okay, that's.
I am really lucky. I did not spill White Claw all over my work laptop.
Yeah, you are lucky. The fun thing is I'm looking while you're getting that taken care of. some of the beta elements actually have, let's see, it looks like Greek alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what Omega 5 Deca wrote. No, Ultima 5. Sorry.
You know what? Shut up, nerd. Okay, so
hey, hold on. There's what's like negative 044/Kelvin.
Maybe it's a dash. Did I get White Claw in my new keyboard?
Uh-oh. Just
I'll suck it out.
And phrasing. Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing: the Imperial Knight section of this book and the Chaos Knights. Okay, so the Imperial Knight section is not very inspired.
No, there's not a lot there.
There's not a lot there. I guess, it layers on some Questor Allegiance oaths that give you one extra new ability based on whether you're Mechanicus or Imperialis.
Yeah.
Mechanicus, you regain 1 wound per turn. Imperialis, you have +1 to advance and charge that doesn't stack with things like full tilt or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
and there's some interesting stuff in
it's
here.
Like a power thing. It's not like much of a narrative note at all, really.
Yeah. There's a bunch of household traditions as well.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You can make choose your own adventure, household tradition.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's always nice to see.
It is a shorter section. We do have an Imperial Knight name generator as well.
Well,
of course.
Okay, where's my dice?
All right, let's do this.
I need to grab another dice because I think I dropped that one.
Oops. All right.
Ooh, 12.
12. Okay, Luke.
Luke.
Luc or Luke.
Oh, well, thank you. 62.
62. Luke, Redemption of Adamant.
Oh, very nice. All right, so yours is 32.
Okay.
Oh my God, 32.
32. All right, Selwyn, Glory Unblemished.
Oh.
There's some nice names in here.
You're like you're a do-gooder. You're a.
We'll see. I mean, that's the
a purity thing. That's weird.
It's like naming the bald guy Curly. Let's see what happens.
Huh.
There's some cool stuff. There's one of the last names is Blackheart, Hammerblow, Tempered Fury, Carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really cool names in here, actually.
We should wax lyrical about the name generator the entire rest of the podcast.
Oh, that'll be fun.
All right. So the Chaos Knights have a lot more to them, I think, because partially for game rules reasons, they needed a little more help.
Yeah.
So,
they didn't have rules, did they? Or
they have a codex, but
they do.
Yeah,
they do.
They don't have a lot going on as far as customization is concerned. So there's a few more layers added onto their rules in this section, and also there's specific rules for specific fallen houses, which we didn't really have before. You were either a demon-y house or a fallen house.
Right.
And that didn't leave a lot, for customizing your rules to fit your personal story or your theme for your army. So I would like to do a episode on Chaos Knights sometime because I feel like it's Knights in general are a thing that some people choose not to experience.
Right.
But I think it's a really neat feature of 40K. I think it has analogs to, like Age of Sigmar and stuff. Or sorry, Warhammer Fantasy. Like the knight is exactly what it sounds like. So I think it would be neat to explore the Chaos Knights a little bit more in a separate episode. So I'm going to skip ahead.
Yeah.
We have Chaos Demons. I had not until we looked at this book. I had not looked at the lore for the new Slaanesh demons. So the last thing I want to... Oh, wait, sorry. Whoa. Tap the brakes.
Yeah.
My Chaos Knight name is 13.
13. Hold on. Okay. I'm still getting that page, but go ahead.
That's fine.
Give me that. So 13 and what else?
54.
13. Bahrus. 54. Terrorfell.
Ooh, Baharus Terrorfell. That's the best one yet. Jason, your Chaos Knight name is 46.
Okay. Abesh.
13.
Oh, yeah. Abesh, bringer of extinction.
Yeah. Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, Chaos Knights rule. We need to do an episode on these guys.
Yeah, we do.
So, Chaos Demons. The new Slaanesh demon. Let's talk about the lore of each of these new demons.
Okay.
Shalaxi Hellbane, the Keeper of Secrets. She is a hunter with a unique twist. In most tales, it is the hunter who becomes obsessed with their quarry. The most dangerous game, etc.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the other way around. Those who are the target of Shalaxi Hellbane's pursuit become transfixed on the greater demon, obsessing over their flight. So they erect powerful bastions, hide in the darkest, secretive places. They amass great armies in their defense. All the while, Shalaxi Hellbane knows what the quarry is doing and where they are going. They elate in the pursuit. The more challenging, the better. Until the foes meet in a final crescendo of passionate destruction. Shalaxi much prefers Quarry, which can handle itself in single combat with the greater demon in the first place, especially bloodthirsters. They love eating bloodthirsters. So the rule of cool on this one, it's a new phrase I came up with. It's like when we talk about a unit, the coolest rule is the rule of cool. Right? I love it. So Monarch of the Hunt allows her to heroically intervene and pile in 6 inches. If she does so against a character. So she loves eating characters. So that's a neat rule.
Yeah.
The next unit is the Infernal and Rapturous. They have captured the essence of a mortal, and she has reconfigured them into the form of a harp, which she has strung with the victim's immortal soul. So the strings of the harp are the soul of the victim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've actually got this model.
So the music is eternal agony to the harp itself, and its chords resonate through through both the materium and the immaterium, causing very real damage and harm to enemies, both artificial and mortal.
What's funny is I actually picked that one up because I liked that it had a harp.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Worse, even the music rends their flesh. Those forced to listen to the music are compelled to dance.
Ooh, okay.
So the rule of cool on this one is when she tries to summon a unit of demons, she gets a +3 to the roll because the music, she's a bard.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She brings all the demons to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Next, we have Celeste, the Vengeful Allegiance. So this is the union between the Heralds of Slaanesh, Syl, and the mortal turned demon-esque, Syl-esque. They arose from a mutual spite. Both entities had not fared well among their kin in Slaanesh's court. So they joined forces. This is actually a very rare thing in Slaanesh's court. Actually, the court of She Who Thirsts is where backstabbing and scrabbling for favor is the driving ambition of every soul in attendance.
Right.
So to join forces is a weird thing. So as a pair, Celeste bound their souls together, and they brought bloody vengeance upon those who once mocked them. Now, Celeste are bound together, each complementing the other, and they work together to bring down entire worlds. So, yeah. Cool. The pronoun there is they. and it literally means they.
Yeah.
The rule of cool is they fight with one weapon profile, and then they fight again with the other weapon profile because the model is actually two models.
Yeah, it's one person standing on top of another. Yeah.
Yep. And they immediately, it's not like, usually when you have a fight again, it's another initiative step.
Yeah.
But in this case, one fights, then they consolidate, and then they fight again, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah, that could be. Yeah. That could actually do some interesting things, especially if you have some sort of, if you're not sure that you can take out that one character or whatever. Yeah.
The contorted epitome is a pair of demons hucking about a giant warp mirror. I don't understand the rules for this. They're really stretching. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's two demons hucking around this giant mirror, but they move with lightning speed. Although I'm not going to say the demons are weak, but it is weird. The mirror itself is supposed to be a construct of sorts. It's as sentient as those who bear it, which I guess for demons is a weird thing.
Yeah.
The mirror of absorption, which is the mirror that they're holding, shows the viewer what they most desire and entraps them in that desire before devouring them.
Got it.
It's the part of the flavor text is that the mirror was actually crafted by a human many thousands of years ago, implying that the world of 40K is actually the world of Harry Potter. But in the future. The rule of cool is horrible fascination. It stops units from falling back.
Oh, okay.
Which is yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The book also has updated rules for horrors again. I don't know how many times we're going to reprint horrors, but let's try to get it right. Yeah. Sometime Blood Crushers and Flesh Hounds. There are new models for Flesh Hounds, so that makes sense. There's new stratagems, and also there's a new stratagem for making Exalted Greater Demons. Exalted Greater Demons have cool new abilities, and they also have access to special weapons, special relics. So there are rules for Exalted Bloodthirsters, Lords of Change, Great Unclean Ones, and Keepers of Secrets. And then you have a name generator for each god at the end of the section.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm going to go with Slanesh.
Okay.
You pick 1, 2, or 3 names. I'm going to go with 2, okay?
Okay. Slanesh,
the first one is 44.
All right. Loathe.
62.
Loathe Flush.
That is gross.
Yeah, it kind of is. Not love. Loathe.
Loathe Flush?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, right?
Okay, what about you?
Let's go with Zinch.
36.
Okay, 36. I.
31.
I Rabid.
Okay.
I think that needs something else. But
Ravid with a V?
Rabid with a B, like, rabies.
I Rabid.
Yeah.
Not. Hey, they can't all be zingers, you guys. Nah. If you want to hear a really cool name generation, rewind it to the Chaos Knight section and listen to that again.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be our better one. Sorry.
All right, man. I think that's Engine War.
Yeah.
Clearly, the most interesting section in the rules was the Mechanica stuff, but it was good to read about the Slanesh demons as well, because I hadn't read about those yet.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a quick break, come back, and talk about War of the Spider?
Come here, boy. Get the ball. Aw, come on, Max. Get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotobix.
Yes, you had.
Zotobix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deathworms.
Ah!
Zotobix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Welcome back. So that break, I'm sure Jason will edit out my peeing. But one can never be certain. So if he hasn't, I apologize. I also apologize if the ghost baby in my house setting off the toys was also heard. If you hear a child's laughter, that means that our equipment can pick up extra dimensional conversations, in which case run, because it's after you. Otherwise, War of the Spider. Jason,
All right,
please
let's talk
enlighten
War of
us
the Spider.
on the lore of War of the Spider.
All right, so War of the Spider. Some really interesting lore. You got some Death Guard lore. You definitely got a lot of Fabius Bile lore, and we also talked also some, Custodes, Sisters of Silence, Assassins, etc. Some of their lore was also expanded, and one thing that was expanded quite nicely, and we had actually read a couple of short stories about these guys, were the Brazen Drakes. And we'll talk about them in a second. So what I did was I kind of went through the book, and I wrote my notes. And whenever I write notes, I tend to be a little more punchy, I guess. I add editorial content that may not always be the kindest. So have fun. So anyways, the Convergence of Prey, we're talking about Bile's campaign against the forces, the Death Guard, and the Imperium, and how it took place amongst the ruins of the Acadian Gate. Like I said before, the Brazen Drakes do show up. Well, kind of in this book. See, the Brazen Drakes were a Space Marine chapter. They'd been in existence for 5 millennia. All right. Their chapter master, Argino Corian, was either a Latin psyker or his psychic abilities were activated because of the Great Rift. So, because things happen, Corian and half of his chapter turned renegade. Yay! And he renamed himself as the Enlightener, and the chapter becomes the Shriven. So, what happens then is we now have kind of a
these
schism.
guys. These are the guys we read stories about in the
Right.
Psychic Awakening fiction.
Yeah.
From
That's
the
the
website.
Yeah, this is the short story that basically blew everybody's mind, where the Custodes were killing Primaris. That's still part of that. So we now have a civil war within the Brazen Drakes, okay? And it basically expands this conflict to 3 entire Imperial systems. This wasn't a small conflict. This was all out war. And what happened was the Brazen Drakes were still fighting this war. And then Torchbearer Task Force, which was a task force from the Custodes that was bringing gene technology to turn Space Marines into Primaris Marines. They showed up and said, "Oh, heretics." And they wiped out the rest of the Brazen Drakes. They wiped out the rest of the Loyalists. And, they also wiped out the Grey Shield Brazen Drakes they had with them, because they said, well, if half the chapter can fall to chaos, that means these Primaris guys can too, and they get to die as well. After killing off the Brazen Drakes, the task force destroyed the gene tech and executed all Grey Shield Brazen Drakes. And, this story is further expanded in the Psychic Awakening short stories. So that was the Brazen Drakes. That's one of the characters. They die fairly early, but then we do talk about the Enlightener and the Shriven, who are the Renegade Brazen Drakes. All right, here we go. Fabius Bile. Bile wants to do the same thing we do every night, Pinky. He tries to destroy the Imperium. I read through the notes or the book. I thought, it's there. He has so many schemes within schemes within schemes that it's just easier to say, yeah, he's here to destroy the place.
Well, I think that the brain analogy is good, because the brain uses whatever experiments he can. He uses his vast intellect to prove his superiority and in order to take over the world, right?
Exactly.
And so that's basically what Call is doing. He's using his manifest destiny, his claims to manifest destiny to take over the Imperium, because he feels he is superior and he's capable of creating superior works to the Emperor.
Yeah. So Bile is, trying to create something new while he's also running from the Death Guard and the Imperium. So in this edition of, what is Fabius Bile doing? He's trying to steal the Ark, and I like this name, and I'm going to destroy it. But it's the Ark Cornu Contagious. So like Cornucopia and Contagious at the same time. And he's trying to steal it from the Death Guard, which was a gift from Nurgle bestowed by the Great Unclean One, Rodigus himself. All right, so the Great Unclean One gave this gift to the Death Guard, and Bile wants it. And what Bile wants, Bile gets. And so he did steal the Ark with his masked warbands and attempts to flee back to the Eye of Terror, but first he must shake off the pursuit of the Death Guard. And to do this, because Bile is definitely a, always wants to find a pawn to what's what I'm looking for, shield him from everybody else. He allies with the Enlightener and the Shriven, who are now part of the Black Legion, which is really interesting. And he allies with them by promising them gifts of, upgrades and making them more, much stronger, faster, stronger, meaner. So and that's pretty cool. During this time, the Shriven has been busy, and they have claimed the quote-unquote tainted fortress world of Dessa. And that's pretty interesting. That they've actually been able to do something, during that time of war with the Brazen Drakes. So then we get to Warzone Cadia, which is the nice map, and it's detailing the dispositions of the forces of Death Guard, of Bile, the Torchbearers for the Custodes, the Crimson Spiders cadre, which is the Sisters of Silence. I love that name. Just really, really cool name. And then the Execution Force Regnum Tribunal. I went through and took some notes on this. One of the things that I found really funny or fascinating was this Execution Force, these assassins, have these incredible code names. The Vindicare assassin, his code name is Monarch. The Calidus, codename Majesty. Eversor, codename Regent. And the Calexis is codename Jester. I thought those... Yeah, it was really neat. And if you're looking for like an interesting warband or cult, Custodes Force or Sister of Silence name, you should check out the sidebar on this page. Some really cool examples: the Ferryman, the Weeping Ones, of course, the Shriven. That's some really interesting stuff in there. What else? Next up, we have the Ambush on Lamaxis. So by the time that quote. By the time Fabius Bile joined his forces to the Black Legionaries of the Shriven, Typhus and his plague fleet were close on his heels. Recognizing that swift action was crucial, Bile wasted no time convincing the Enlightener to mobilize his forces for certain gifts of augmentation. So, Bile has been really busy augmenting the Shriven while awaiting both Typhus and the Imperium to find him. Can you imagine that? Just waiting? It's like, oh, so here comes Typhus, and here come a whole bunch of Custodes. Yeah, that's kind of a terrifying position to find yourself in. At least I would be kind of nervous. And Bile and his forces, instead of sitting on their, I think it's at Dessa, they decide to go ahead and meet Typhus at the world of Lamaxis, which is a drowned world that was only nominally habitable. And it's kind of a swamp world. From the description of the world, not like Tatooine, but there's definitely a waterlogged, water world. Not water world like Kevin Costner water world, but more of a bog, I guess, maybe more of a swamp. So they're at Lamaxis. They lead Typhus into a trap, which is interesting, by scuttling the Wretch, which is a warship that Bile had used. And they crash land this warship on Lamaxis, trying to bring Typhus onto that world. And Typhus and a portion of his army board the Wretch, looking for the Ark, but instead walk into, and I quote, an extremely large bomb. Yeah. So the bomb explodes, and the Shriven... the bomb explodes... And the Shriven, who are part of Bile's forces, they then ambush the Plague Fleet because Typhus is on the ground, so they can go ahead and do that. Lots of fighting. Somehow, and I haven't figured this out, Typhus survives the extremely large bomb. I realize it's narrative armor, but he does. Then for some reason, the Shriven head down to the planet, and the Death Guard clash with them on the planet. The Plague Fleet, demoralized and hurt, rally around communication from Typhus, because Typhus lives, and begin landing troops on the planet to fight the Shriven. Somehow, Bile and Corian escape. Corian the Enlightener. Alright, so one of the sidebars that's in here, they've lost all Vox contact with Typhus. And there's noise, and someone screams out it's an ambush, and then fated signal, and then direct fire. I just love these sidebars that have the, action report. I mean, they're just so nice. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I think on the sidebar was, in the name of Typhus and the Plague Father, drive them back. It's like, yeah, there we go. I mean, that's exciting. There's a sidebar later that I absolutely adore. So then we're on to Death of Bearstein. So, with the immediate threat staved off, the Shriven found themselves with a window of time in which to gather their strength and plan their next moves. However, cracks were already appearing in the alliance between Bile and the Enlightener. Basically, they've gotten away from the Death Guard. The Death Guard's licking their wounds somewhere. And this is a bit of time for, Bile to essentially upgrade the Shriven, go through and maybe add that extra arm or, make that gun a little bit better. And because of this, the Shriven have regained confidence and a bit of swagger, believing they had outmaneuvered and outfought Typhus.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
It's pretty much the definition of what we're trying to do here. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
I think that's less of a like. That's less talking about others and more of a mission statement.
Yeah. Well, it's is it a documentary or a how-to manual? So
right.
Yeah. So because they believed they had outmaneuvered and outfought Typhus, that led to an abundance of willing test subjects for Bile. And I think it even had like an abundance as a quote. Everyone wants to go through and get that extra tentacle or that extra arm or, put that plate in their head. This, though, leads to Corian. He's not happy with Bile's successes because he feels his authority is being undermined. But he cannot act against Bile because of Bile's augmentations. I mean, Bile's upgraded him too. There's, everybody's
probably planted a cortex bomb in his head.
Probably. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like, you don't want to get mad at Oprah because Oprah's probably going to give you something.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a new gun. Woohoo. So, the Imperial force is close. They have discovered this, and Corian decides to engage with that force over the world of Barstein Prime. The Imperial forces land, or actually they orbit Barstein Prime to repair and rearm, because they are prepared to find and run the Shriven into the ground. However, because this is 40K, and we can't have nice things... the world is currently beset by foes and cannot perform outfit and repair. They're just basically holding on. Everything that they have, they're using just to stay alive. The Prime world has been abandoned and fallen into ruin with box warnings on all communication frequencies, like don't land. However, the shield captain, Tyvar, who's the captain of this force, the Torchbearer force, in a moment of brilliant strategic acumen, heads to the planet's surface to inspect a refinery Oh yeah, my editorializing starts showing up about here. At this time, while he is on the planet, Bile and the Shriven appear in system. The Enlightener, Corian, wants to engage the shield captain in personal combat on the planet, ignoring both Corporal Hicks and Ripley's advice to nuke the place from orbit. So, battle, deception, some more battle, and Corian and the shield captain are now... Whoa, what happened there? Sorry, I pressed a button and I changed the page.
Way to go.
I know.
All right, everyone. I'll give you a topic. Discuss amongst yourselves. Hold on. I'm going to my random topic generator.
Oh, okay.
22. Okay.
Okay.
Topic 22 is who are you when you're hungry?
Well, that depends. Are you a Tyranid or...
I mean, it's a Snickers reference.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a Tyranid, I would think you are out. You're probably out of synapse range, right?
Oh.
Yeah, you're probably hungry if you're out of synapse range. If you're a Tyranid, what if you're an orc? Who are you when you are hungry?
That's a good question.
Probably a chef, a big chef Grubzog of my army. Jason, did you find your spot? Because
yes, I was just having a great time.
I'm flailing here now. So,
all right. So, remember, the chef is based loosely on the Swedish chef. So there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Birdie, birdie. Who's the Swedish chef when he's hungry?
Oh, that's a good question.
He's Hergen de Flurken.
Oh.
You know what? I just realized that Rose from the Golden Girls, all of the names and words from St. Olaf were basically Swedish chef talk.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Fantastic.
We've actually managed to.
We've made a breakthrough here. I feel like
Yeah.
we've done good works.
Yeah, fourth wall be damned. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. Battle. Corian and the shield captain are locked in combat when, and I love this, I quoted it, the echoing crack of a high-powered sniper rifle cut through the din of battle. Corian jerked in midair. Bile with a giant smile. It actually says that he is smiling. And the Shriven retreat, carrying the twitching body of Corian. So what's really funny is this little area has a sidebar. And I love this sidebar. Nice message header, one of my favorite types. And it's from Shield Captain. And you look at the name, and it's a little bit difficult, but as you sound it out, it's basically Jeff Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shield Captain Jeff Robinson to the Assassinorum. Essentially, let's go ahead and take what they've said and bring it down to an easy, digestible text. Do you have assassins operating here? We're pretty sure you have them, but they're not coordinating with us. And, it's basically that text. And the very end is, you've been ignoring my previous, communications, but I'm going to keep bothering you until you answer me. And if you don't, I'm going to go pay you a home visit. Actually, what I wrote in the notes was, you've been ignoring my text, but I'm going to keep on until you answer. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really funny because as I was reading that, I read that part before I started writing the notes, and I actually wrote the notes for that first because it was so funny. All right.
Jeff Robinson used to do shoutcasting for Games Workshop.
Oh, okay.
He passed away tragically of well, it doesn't matter what he passed away from, but
yeah,
he passed away recently at a far too young age.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm glad all right. Next up, the unraveling web. So, another quote. Bile and the surviving Shriven retreated to Dessa, falling back behind their fortress high battlements and gun emplacements. With the Enlightener apparently slain, his former followers looked to Bile for leadership. They are his creatures now, just as he'd planned all along. Yet peril drew closer by the day.
The peril is much too perilous.
So the Shriven Seers wailed of not one but two foes drawing closer with every passing hour. The Shriven are not happy with Bile and Temper's flare. Right before things start getting bad, Bile smiles and unveils his latest creation. Corian has returned. The parts of his brain that were damaged in the headshot have been removed and scooped out. Yeah, right. Pretty much,
bad.
Exactly. And
bad.
So the Enlightener's most loyal followers go for their blades, and the Enlightener, who was a psyker, obliterates them with the psychic blast. Just, melts them essentially. Bile then kind of reveals that he's going to augment all the remaining Shrivens. The rest of them say, okay, we're sorry. I don't know, whatever they say. So then Typhus and the Death Guard fleet arrive, but is wary and ready for an ambush by Bile because that's what they did last time. Mm-hmm. So more battling. Then the Imperium arrive and obviously don't care what Corporal Hicks and Ripley recommended. Again. I mean, come on. That's, more battling. Then Imperial assassins appear from somewhere. I don't know. One of them appears from the cultists. Okay, so first off, Vindicator takes a headshot. But the Enlightened stops the bullet as it's about to hit the Enlightened and sends a psychic pulse back to basically explode the Vindicator. The Caldus appears from within the cultists.
You mean the Vindicare?
Yeah, Vindicare, sorry.
You were tired. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. So Vindicare took the headshot. The Caldus appears from the cultists and stabs him in the chest, but is repelled by a psychic blast. The Calexis then appears and shuts down his psychic power just in time for the Eversword to tackle him. The Eversword does hurt him right before the Sorcerer, the Enlightened, snaps his neck. Unfortunately, the Sorcerer has not read the Eversword's rules. And the Eversword exploded and killed him. And the Calexis and Calidus escape. The battle basically falls apart right after his death. The Imperial forces leave the Cadian Gate behind, and somehow, or they leave to go warn the Imperium, and somehow Bile escapes. So,
of course.
Yeah, of course. Like the other books, this one has a collection of astropathic communiques, which, we should probably go through later and see, what might be there, what might show up in Pariah. Missions. So I didn't really talk too much about the missions because
there's only been one in each one, right?
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot. However, there is one theater of war, and I really like this because I think it could be played almost as a solo game. All right, or you could use it in a crusade or a combat patrol or whatever. Basically, assassins have taken up positions around the battlefield. They lie in wait. Their amplified senses owned on their targets. What they do is they recommend you use 2 to 6 assassins, and I think it's you have them set up as a tertiary objective markers maybe. And they're treated as enemy units by both the players. At the end of each battle round, the assassins have a turn. So you have a turn. Cool. Yeah,
it's like you have monsters on wandering monsters.
Exactly, which is why I was thinking maybe it could be, even like a one-player type of thing,
right?
Solo, but I think it could be easily locked into anything, whether it be some sort of big, 2,000, 3,000 point game down to 500 point game, Zone Mortalis up to deserted. I mean, this is one I think could really work.
There's a lot to this, and I bet that the automated rules for running the NPCs as it were could probably be converted for other characters that you might want to use, like Gene Stealer cults or commandos or something like that.
It'd be really easy to go through and just set up all sorts of cool stuff for this.
Right. Whoa, were there 3 Crucible of War missions for this?
No, it's just one.
Book? Oh, just because I see Merciless Ambush, Hostile Acquisitions.
Yeah, I think it was just
Unexpected
one.
Quarters.
Hold on, let me find that book.
Okay.
I just kind of looked at it and went, I didn't want to go through and talk that much about them because it wasn't. Oh, no, just Merciless Ambush.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, actually, there were 3.
Okay.
Let me talk about some of them real quick. Merciless Ambush is, of course, an ambush mission.
Cool.
Kind of, I don't want to go too much into it. It's got stratagems. It's got some other stuff.
Okay.
Next up, Hostile Acquisitions, which looks like it could be kind of like the Relic. Sorry, I didn't go into these because
that makes sense that it would, because Call's purpose or sorry, not Call, Fabius Bile's purpose.
Yeah.
But it does sound like that's the kind of thing. There's a mission or 2 like that in the Crusade rules, so it's probably something like that.
Unexpected Quarters is the last one, which is not a drinking game.
It probably uses the new Hostile Operatives rule for the assassins too.
It might. I think you could just go through and drop that in there. Basically,
well, you can drop it in anything, really.
Yeah, I think your Warlord. Basically, it's Warlord must escape. So you're sacrificing troops to buy time, and you have to get the assassins come in from one point. So yeah, there are assassins. But yeah, that's that one's pretty interesting. Rules. There's rules for Talons the Emperor, Sisters of Silence, Imperial Agents. I really didn't go into these because I didn't think they were
right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was really anything really new.
Right, and with the new scenarios in the core rulebook, some of this stuff can be a little it's probably a little samey, but it's worth giving it a look. Maybe there's something in there for you if you want to add a little spice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I will say that the thing that really caught my eye was the assassin was it Hostile Operatives Theater. I just read that and thought, oh, this would be perfect.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's something you can add to literally anything.
Yeah.
So this one had this one expanded the rules for like custodes and stuff.
Yeah, for Custodes, for Sisters of Silence, for I think it actually had the assassins in there.
Okay.
I think it went through and updated rules for Death Guard, and I'm assuming for Agents of Bile, because I'd forgotten that Bile's new book, or not new book, but his new model had appeared. So this is like the first place, I guess, that it's...
Right. And the Agents of Bile, they just kind of enhance existing Chaos Space Marine units and stuff.
Well, it's... All right, let me look at it real quick. Legion trait... his rules, relics. He has relics. He's got a couple of stratagems. Oh, hold on, he's got a few stratagems. Actually, we were talking earlier about how we name things.
Yeah.
There is a Death Guard name generator.
Well, it sounds like it's time for me to generate my Nurgle Plague Lord's name. 111.
11? Okay. Ooh, Excremus. Wait, X-Christmas.
Ew. I'm going to stick with Excremus.
Okay. And?
44.
Excremus Blorg?
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
There's an old meme from the 90s about an inappropriate meme from the 90s about the enjoyment of party cake. Anybody out there who remembers the halcyon years of a total lack of any kind of kindness towards your fellow man will remember the party cake. Anyways, Jason, your horrible festering wound of a character is named 26.
Petrus. Yeah.
16.
Petrus Foul Touch. Oh.
Ew. You are the bad touch. You are the
I have the bad touch. There's also Sisters of Silence name generator if we want to do that.
That sounds boring. No, thank you.
Yeah, it is kind of boring, actually, as I look at it. I don't have... They didn't do one for Custodes?
What, you just string a bunch of Gothic together?
That's right. I forgot. Custodes are the ones that have their name on their armor, and it takes... Oh, no, here we go. There's an Adeptus Custodes name generator.
How many names do you generate? That's the thing. I bet the higher rank you are, the more names you have to generate.
And for Custodian, you can roll up a string of as many names as you like.
That's great. I love it. That is perfect. That is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. 25.
Do you want a name from the left table or the right table?
You pick.
Okay. Let's go for Hasturius. Okay.
Hasturius, 24.
Hasturius Bastoris.
62.
Okay. Hasturius Bastorius Monastus?
Cool. 36.
Maxim.
What's the whole name?
Asturias, Bastoris. Crap. Which one do we have? It wasn't Borsa. What was it? My thumb moved. Anyway, yes, you can go through and string these together like nobody's business.
23.
23. What is 23? We have either Tauromachus or Valorian. Hey, there's Valorian.
Historius, Bacchus, was hold on. 21.
Erasmian.
Historius, Bacchus,
This is David Annandale, and you're listening to Masters of the Forge, where they bring the world of Warhammer 40,000 to life on your tabletop.
Hey mofos, are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Are you looking for a pressure-free hobby Facebook group? Hobby Streak. Are you looking for a community where you can keep your hobby progress on track? Hobby Streak. Do you want a Facebook group that focuses on all aspects of the hobby? Hobby Streak. Hobby Streak is a Facebook group for building, painting, list building, playing games, and everything in between. Hobby Streak. Post daily updates showing or telling about your progress for friendly and helpful support from a great community. Try Hobby Streak today.
13. 13, Jason.
Okay, sorry.
I need my 35th name.
You need the 35th name? Okay, hold on. I put the book down for
I'm writing these down.
I know. We're going to go through and tattoo them on someone. I don't know who.
Yeah, maybe the cat.
Okay. 13, that is Calaxor.
Calaxor. Okay, last name, 43.
43... Tessolian?
Tessolian.
Yeah.
That's close enough to TV for me to be happy about wrapping this up. All right. Well, I've created my... I think this is the best name generator episode we've had yet. It's pretty cool. Next episode is the Pariah Nexus. We're going to talk about the Pariah. I think there's been some talk about Necrons across the narrative gaming community, which is good. We should. I'm not going to not do it because other people are doing it. We're going to talk about Necron technology, the Pariah Nexus itself, the story of the Pariah Nexus. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
More Necron love. After that, though, it'll be time for kind of a more way back topic, I think. So, folks, if you want to hear a specific topic, let us know, and maybe we'll talk about it. Give us a jingle. I think it'd be nice. And then after that will be episode 150.
Yeah, 150.
I doubt we'll be sober.
I plan on not being. Is that appropriate?
That is fine.
Rad. Cool.
That is fine.
I got my plans.
I'm just thinking, like, who should we have on to make totally uncomfortable about us being super drunk during a recording?
That's a good question. We'll have to think about that.
We'll have to think. Listeners, think about that. Let us know who you want us to make uncomfortable for 150. Let us know what topic you want for 149.
Yeah.
And look out for episode 148 on the Pariah Nexus.
Yeah.
Until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Just at a respectable social distance.
Yes, please. Don't bring in Nurgle.
We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge. And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
You can also contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor. Thanks again for listening.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Podod of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.